Back at the dawn of tabletop RPGs.
Gary, what I'm thinking, buddy, is maybe what if the puzzles made sense, right? And the players could, glean a solution to the puzzle, by just with the information that you've given them as part of, the scene setting and stuff. Because Gary, we're trying to make a game for lots of people to play, and it really seems like you just want to hurt the players in some way. And I feel like maybe, well, what if it didn't hurt the players? What if it was, like a fun, logical thing people could work through?
Oh, fuck the players.
And thus a legend was born. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast with two queer trans women.
That's us.
We're wifey types. We talk about media stuff we have consumed in the week. And
tasty media.
Have a silly little catch-up.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm a sleepy little bean, but I'm glad to have you proximate.
I'm
for
proximate.
And such.
I am briefly back in proximity.
Yay!
In order to also be a sleepy little bean talking about media stuff of the week.
Yeah. So tell us the thing that you've played.
I've not played a lot this week. I've been doing travelling stuff, so I've not been doing a lot of playing.
Not with your fantastic new handheld device.
Well, indeed, but it's been travelling that's been like spending time with other people where I want to be sociable and interacting with those people. I played a couple of things. I played a tabletop RPG one-page rule set that I haven't played before that was kind of interesting. I ran a session of a game called Kaiju Girls.
Oh.
And the idea of this one shot, and it's one of those Grant Howitt, GS Howitt one shots, is that you're getting your players to roll up a bunch of characters that have your school student half of the character,
right,
and also a kaiju half of the character.
Okay.
And the way that this works is we will do some rolling at the start to find out a couple of problems that you're going to have to deal with at school.
Mm-hmm.
You can either make up your own or you can roll off a table, and it might be things like, ooh, you've got to tutor your crush, but your crush is really struggling to learn, or ooh, your rival is trying to ruin your stall at the cultural festival,
oh, no.
And oh no, the prom's tonight, oh no.
Oh heck.
But also, you live in a city where giant monsters sometimes try and destroy the city, and you'll roll a couple of dice to find out some things about what nature of giant creatures are trying to destroy the city today.
Right.
And you have to solve your school problems and also your kaiju problems, because if you get particularly stressed, you will transform from a school child into a kaiju or vice versa.
Right.
And you have different abilities in your different forms.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Your school child form has you get bonus dice based on whether does this relate to your favourite class in school, or a hobby you have, or something you do that your parents wish you wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And these will all sort of add dice to make it more likely you're going to succeed. So the way the dice rolling system works is you roll one dice plus additional dice for however many of your attributes were relevant to this roll, and the DM will set a difficulty somewhere between 1 and 10 for how many successes should need to be rolled. A 5 or a 6 is a success. So if you're rolling with a couple of abilities, you're probably rolling 3 dice, you'll probably get a success, because it's 1 in 3-ish odds. If you fail a check, you gain stress. And stress is both a help and a hindrance, in that when you get stress added, you gain additional dice to roll. Great, you're more likely to get successes in future.
Yes.
But your stress dice are a different colour to the rest of your dice.
Right.
And if one of your stress dice rolls a 1, you transform.
Uh-oh.
No matter what you're in the middle of doing, you transform. So higher amounts of stress mean you are more likely to succeed at rolls, but also you are more likely to accidentally transform against your will without intending to.
Oopsie-doopsie.
And that is a consequence. But if you want to deliberately transform, or if you want to ensure you definitely succeeded a check, knowing the consequence will probably be you transforming. You can optionally gain additional stress at any time. You can ask the DM, can I make my character more stressed right now? And I will hand you however many additional dice you want. You've got a better chance at succeeding, but you might transform right now. Which, maybe you fix the problem you're in, but you transform in the middle of a classroom, that's going to have consequences.
Yes.
Much like you're doing a kaiju battle, and you get stressed in the fight, and now you've transformed back into a school child in a situation where a kaiju is stomping around the city not that far from you.
Oopsie.
Yeah, it's going to get you stressful again.
I would imagine.
You're going to have to work out what to do about that. And it is a simple little one-shot about dealing with some mundane problems and some big supernatural problems, and tying it all up in a bow at the end as we continued living our little superhero double life.
How does this work in multiplayer? Like, I can see this working quite well one-on-one. How does that work with a class of people who are constantly turning into kaiju or not?
Oh, no, it is not like the whole classroom has kaiju powers. It's you and, like, the players are... You are a couple of people who, whatever your backstory reason for it is, like, I don't know, you touched some radioactive goo at some point and now...
Yeah, but what I mean is with multiple people who turn into kaijus, for example, how do you interact with that? Because obviously, potentially, one person turning into a kaiju in the middle of class next to a fellow kaiju student, surely they could get crushed, potentially.
Well, there is a stat for human survivability,
Right.
and you might not want to transform too near to humans because you will be rolling a dice to see whether they endure that
Right.
you having transformed near them.
It's very stressful if your classmate turns into a kaiju.
Yeah, no. All I'm saying is just try and be thoughtful about your levels of stress. You know the consequences of transforming unintentionally.
Calming thoughts, deep breaths.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry too much about it. It'll work itself out.
Algebra homework.
It's going to be a little chaotic, but that's part of the fun of it.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was a fun little one-page RPG to run a session of, and it's a rule set I'd be up for running again.
Yeah, you played another RPG, didn't you?
I did. This is one we've talked about before. I wasn't sure if we were going to bring it up again, but
I mean, you played it slightly differently.
I changed some of the narrative around a little bit. Do you want to tell people about this one?
So this is based on an idea from an Outside Xbox or Oxventure episode I saw a little while back, run by Luke, and the plot was everybody's a Cobalt, and you are trying to stop a group of adventurers getting through or waking up your queen or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I ran this not long ago at a festival with some friends where there was a plot about like not waking up the entity that makes all the music. Otherwise, the kobolds won't be able to continue their 30-year party.
And all of the kobolds are very squishy, so you will probably be rolling up new characters with a single defining character trait very often.
They have 5 HP, and I generated a while ago just like a list of names and descriptors for that person. Like, the person I always like to start with is, like, Blount the Decorative.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be the first person splattered up a wall. So this was people who had not previously heard of that concept. How did they deal with... Because when we played this together at the Festi, I prepped you in advance, was like, you're going to be the first one to die, so that way no one's like, oh my god, my character died immediately. I guess
I gave a little heads up that they were playing very fragile characters and to not stress too much about that and to trust it would work.
Yeah.
I won't go too much into the narrative I did for this because it was a little bit inside baseball. It was a bit very tailored to a specific group of people I was playing with, but
know your audience.
The generic version I will give is I turned this into a campaign about protecting a convention from a generic evil convention organizer, and I will say no more about it.
For libel reasons.
I mean, look, I'm not going to make any allegations about any particular people who've organised any UK conventions, but maybe
Who
one...
deserve to be demonised.
Yeah, but maybe one example I can think of might deserve to be demonised and might become a villain sometimes when I'm putting stories together at conventions for a specific set of friends. But that was fun. It was nice to have an excuse to play some silly, light-hearted, not too serious RPGs.
And it feels like they're a group who would very much get into, oh yeah, I'm just going to play my single-serving character for a moment.
Yeah, they're a group of friends that are very up for I will trust you. Like, we'll play a new system, and I'm happy to go in not knowing very much and just see where it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you? What you been playing this week?
Well, I've not played a lot, but the things I have played have looked pretty. They've certainly looked pretty.
Yeah, because you opened up your computer and did stuff to it.
I've finally put a new graphics card in it because mine has been struggling a bit with a few things recently. So and also I do a lot of video editing. It makes sense to have a decent graphics card. And this was an old. The one I had in there was a 2070 Super, which was old when I put it in 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's done me well. But yes, I was like, I'm going to take an opportunity to play those games that I've owned but never played because felt like they wouldn't necessarily do particularly well on my old graphics card. I played Returnal. What was PS5 launch title, I believe?
Yes, and then eventually came to PC.
Which is it's an interesting narrative. It seems to be sort of styling itself as like sci-fi protagonist crash land on an alien world. There is plot to it. I won't spoil it. It's a fairly recent game, even though it's stuff you'll learn in the first 15-20 minutes of the game.
I mean, its name is significant.
It is.
Yeah.
But the thing that I never got from any of the marketing was that it's basically a bullet hell.
Yes, it's made by a company called Housemarque, who were known for doing top-down bullet hell games.
Right.
And then they made... This was their ambitious step into 3D, was to do a 3D bullet hell roguelike, kind of?
Yeah.
Third-person bullet hell roguelike.
Yeah, the plot is fascinating. The world design is beautiful and weird. The character design is beautiful and weird, but it's a bullet hell, and I am not really good at those.
Nope, same.
So there's been a lot of, I've got slightly further with a run. I've got a little bit further with a run, but then I'm just like hard capping at one point.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to go, I'm just going to like step away from this and then come back the next day. But that's not necessarily going to make me better at that game. And I'm too old to have I don't have the leisure time for put that much work in to get good at another bullet hell. Especially one where you do spend a decent amount of time on like floating islands in the middle of nowhere, and so if you for all the like dodging and jumping you can do, if you dodge in the wrong direction at the wrong time, you're just going to fall off the side, and that's going to lose you some health, which is going to make it even harder. And then it's just like, well, restart your run.
It could do with like a ledge guard accessibility setting of don't let me accidentally jump backwards off a cliff.
Yeah, but it looks pretty. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play much more of it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having very similar to the experience I had on PS5 when I played it, which was gorgeous game, fascinating concept. Maybe I'm just going to have to Google some cutscenes of this later, because I do not have the coordination to get past a certain point in it.
Yeah, it's one that's turned up on a lot of like listicle videos talking about like weird shit in games and weird stuff about endings and things. So like, I know stuff about it, but also like, I just don't think I have the skills or the ability to acquire those skills.
Yeah.
With like the joint problems I have anyway, and also like the like sensory overwhelm of like that's a lot of shit and a lot of things I have to jiggle in directions.
It requires a consistency of both focus and coordination, and being able to without gaps or momentary lapses, be in control of what you're doing and paying attention to everything, and that is quite hard.
I did appreciate that with a wired DualSense controller, you can very successfully, like, you can get all of the adaptive trigger stuff working.
Oh, yes.
I'm not a huge fan of the adaptive triggers, mainly because of just, like, sometimes, I think, particularly with Resident Evil 8, I remember playing on PS5, there was a few times if I was doing, like, a long Resi 8 session, like, it felt like, okay, my hands are starting to get really fucking knackered now. And I've already got, like, all sorts of issues with my fingers and joints anyway, so I'm just glad I'm as mobile as I am with controllers right now. Otherwise I might have to borrow your adaptive controller. But yeah, that was Returnal. Pretty. Don't know how much more I'll be playing with it. What about you? Have you played anything else?
I started playing a game that I am real into. I've been playing a game called Paper Trail, and this is a game that I originally saw a demo for at EGX. I'm going to say, like, at least 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. It might have been E3 EGX 2019. It might have been pre-COVID. But the idea of this game is that all of the environments are on sheets of paper, and you can change the world that you're navigating by folding over part of the piece of paper to reveal the other side of the paper.
I think we talked about this on Quips, probably 5 years ago.
It's real early Quips, I think this would have been. So the idea is, let's say there's a broken bridge that you're trying to cross and you can't cross it. Maybe you fold over, like, the right-hand side of the paper and there's a completed bridge on the other side of the page, and you line that up, walk across the bridge, and then now you're able to sort of navigate elsewhere. But some of the problems that come up, you can't fold the part of the paper that you're currently stood on. So, like, I folded over, I saw a bridge on the other side, I walked across it, I can't, like, unfold it, now I'm on that side. So I'm going to have to find my way to somewhere else so that I can unfold the paper and now be on the other side of the broken bridge.
Shall I fold, like, the opposite side over onto this side and then maybe pull it out or something?
And you can fold from any of the four sides or from any of the corners. So you can do diagonal folds or regular folds. There's a really nice hint system in there that's very appreciated for if you're having any trouble navigating. I want to play more of it. The narrative's really interesting. The game feels very tactile in a way that's very satisfying.
Yeah.
It reminds me of recently I was playing Arranger, which was that game about the world was on a sort of grid system, and when you moved, the world sort of shifted with you. It's got that same sort of tactility and feeling very connected to the way you're engaging with the world. I want to play more of this. I'm super into Paper Trail. I can't wait to play more. It's what was once a very promising idea in a demo has come together to be a really interesting game, and I'm glad that there's a decent narrative to it and that it's got that to sort of push me along with continuing. What about you? What else have you been playing?
Well, I briefly mentioned it earlier, but as a thing I'd done in the past. But yeah, I have replayed Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 8, on PC now.
Yeah.
Gosh, it looks pretty with the settings turned up high. Although that baby at the beginning is just frankly, like, too realistically, it's frankly terrifying. With the subsurface scattering on, the skin textures just look. Yeah, like that. I think subsurface scattering is always the one that takes everyone from looking slightly plasticky to, that's a bit weirdly too real. Much. Yeah, it's a great game. I love playing it on casual and just, like, blasting through it, and it's fun to just, like, have a go at all the different werewolves and stuff. Although, like, even in casual, that opening scene is possibly one of the toughest bits of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I think I died about 6 times before I managed to get through to the end of it.
I think it's a deliberately overwhelming start to go, it's your, oh Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore moment of... But it's like Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4, that first, like, big village you walk into is a similar, like, weird difficulty spike right at the start.
I don't know, I felt like I did pretty good at that opening village and Resi. Like, the only bit I really struggled in Resi 4 with, because that's one of the few that I've played a lot. The only bit I really struggled with is when you get, like, through the barn and you first discover the chainsaw guy with the bag on the head.
Yeah.
Generally, I didn't find the opening for 4 that overwhelming, but this one, like there's just overwhelming odds generally, and then it's constantly, like, knowing whether what you should be doing is shooting everything a lot, or just trying to run to the point where this cutscene ends.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of points in Resi 8 with that of, yes, you could be shooting this character that's directly in front of you, and it might seem to make a difference in the moment, or, like, they'll let you go, or they'll stagger for a second, but they're not really taking any damage. Like Lady Dimitrescu, for example, like, she starts walking around the house, I think, after you kill the first daughter, and you can shoot her, and she will, like, stagger a little bit, but you're not really doing any damage, and she's not going to go away until you've got to the plot point where she mutates and you, like, fight her up in the belfry at the end of the first act.
Yeah.
Or second, I guess. And there's a few other points with, like, characters, like, you can see, like, Moreau, when you first get to the reservoir, you can see him, like, going through the water. You could technically take pot shots at him with the sniper rifle. It's not really going to do a lot until you've got to the point where you've, like, drained and started shooting him again. I do wonder how much, like, I'd love to know, like, the back end of this stuff, like, when is it that you can actually, like, be having an effect of shooting these things, or is it just, am I at this point just wasting ammo? Really enjoy it, love that game. I am looking forward to going through. I think this is probably the most successful run I've ever had.
Yay.
Like, I found stuff, like, I made more effort to, like, find all of the secret stuff, like, not leaving areas until I'd found what I thought was everything. Luckily, there is that colour coding on the map that helps you.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. Like, I feel like I got most of the stuff and had some really good times with all of that. And, yeah, I will probably play multiple runs of this, or just have this as the, oh yeah, in 6 months' time I feel like playing this again, and just, like, boot back into it and get more runs and get more CP and unlock more of the extra stuff, because it's just fun to have.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm glad to get another chance to play it, and I'm glad it runs on PC as well as it does, because I know it was one of those, like, I'm probably going to struggle a bit when it first happened, but I think I got it in a Humble Bundle a while back with Resi 7 as well. A game that I've watched a lot of footage of and have never really played.
Resi 7 is fascinating, but by virtue of being a game much more set in a single location, I find it a lot harder to mentally map and navigate than I do 8, with its... You spend less time in a single environment before you move to somewhere new and distinct that makes it easier to not have to remember too many things at once.
I get you, but then, like, even when I'm going back to the village where mostly things are the same, I still constantly, like, every other second, like, oh, open the map, open that. Am I facing the right direction for everything?
Don't get me wrong, I do struggle with it in 8, but not as much as 7. It's a comparative.
I think what I struggled with in 7 was just, I feel like there were more and harder enemies and less ammo. And at least in casual mode, 8 very much gives you, like, most of the time, apart from in that intro, like, enough ammo, enough weapons, enough ability to power yourself up. Also, I think this was the first run where I'd, like, made a very concerted effort to go, I'm going to use all of the weapons. I'm not just going to keep going, I'm just going to keep making, like, shotgun shells, and I'm going to use whatever my current shotgun is. Like, I was deliberately making use of pipe bombs and mines and the sniper rifle. Yeah, it felt like a good run and a better understanding of 8 as a whole. And I got all but one of the meals finished, but apparently I locked myself out of getting the last few fish I needed to make the last meal.
Oh.
Grrr. Fuck. Well, yeah, that was Resi 8. Very much enjoyed playing through that again. I might see about getting the DLC, because... I don't know how good it was, but I know there's stuff with the daughter.
There is a story DLC. I remember it reasonably positively.
Yeah, I'll give it a look. Yeah. What about you? What else have you played?
Not a lot this week. Not a lot I can talk about, at least. I'm in the middle of playing stuff I can't yet talk about. / Gamescom's coming up, so I'll have plenty to talk about after that. But yeah. What about you? You played much else?
That's it for me.
Well then, time for this.
Well, we've destroyed the great evil, and everything seems to be absolutely settled.
Ah, what a satisfying place for our journey to end.
Unless there was something strange going on with the weather that we really need to address.
I mean, sure. Is it going to be a big diversion, like a sequel's worth of dealing with?
I mean, I think we could... Probably actually it stopped raining, so I guess it's actually okay.
Oh
well, I guess that's relatively.
The sun is out. What a satisfying sort of place to end this adventure.
I've got a weird email.
Oh
yeah.
Is it like a tease for our next adventure, or?
I mean, if you give me a second, I'm just going to respond. I mean, it's It's one of those they wouldn't tell me what it was about, and it felt like it was going to be a thing, and maybe it is going to be world changing, and I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
Oh, well, hang on. Sorry, I've got to do a bit more work.
Yeah.
I'll get back. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to log into the portal for a bit.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see what's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. All sorted now. Yeah. Someone had just toggled something they shouldn't have, and it's obviously blown everything out on the front end.
Well, with that done,
yeah.
I guess this is where the adventure ends.
Unless, coming this fall, this film that gets progressively less and less interesting the more endpoints that it kind of hits and then just decides to stumble over into yet more movie. This movie could have been an email. In cinemas coming in September. You seen the trailer for that movie, have you? Yeah.
Oh, that one with the main character's the woman. That woke pandering one.
Well, I mean, it's women. Right, absolutely, yeah, woke pandering, of course, the co-star being white, that's, absolutely, look, pandering there as well, isn't it? Well, yeah, white guy there, dark hair, dark hair there, isn't it?
That's not pandering, that's just normal.
Well, he's got dark hair as well. That's pandering as well, isn't it? Pandering to,
It's normal.
Well, yeah, you say that. Modern English as well, innit? If you want to get back to, like traditional values and stuff, why is it, not Middle English, Old English, something like that, which is woke pandering to do it in, modern English. And look at that, like, that character, clearly, some lycra in that clothing, I would say, more, as opposed to, a more traditional, like, Hessian sack.
Well, what you...
Woke pandering is, I think, what we got there.
Well, what you fail to understand is that woke pandering means
anything you don't
not like me.
Yeah. Oh, right. So, that one of those characters is in their 20s. Woke pandering. Yeah.
I was in my 20s.
Well,
once,
yeah,
so
you
were.
Oh, no, that's not woke, is it? That's where you draw the line, is it? That's not where you draw the line. Oh, well, that character's wearing glasses. Woke pandering, to the,
woke pandering. I definitely know what woke pandering means.
I am never speaking to you again.
Probably for the best.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
Oh, we've put some things in our eyes this week.
We sure have. Where do you want to start?
I want to start by talking about the thing that felt like the positive experience I want to evangelize about. Can we start there?
Okay.
We went and I saw the TV glow.
We sure did.
I went into this knowing a bunch of trans people have gone and seen it and walked away going, I feel like I went through a unique experience that the cis people in this room did not get the same thing out of it that I did.
Reading the reviews, I think that's fairly accurate.
Yeah. And I knew it was a bit about getting lost in TV as fantasy and feeling like you have not done as much with your life as you want to have done. And we went in and watched it, and oh my goodness, that is a piece of art, that film. I'm glad I had you to grip onto while watching it. That film is not subtle in its trans allegory.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's not subtle? Because I've heard people going that the film is about nothing.
Yeah, so to talk about like very early conceptual stuff about this film, it is largely a film about two people a couple of years apart from each other in age in high school who both get really into this show called The Pink Opaque,
Yes.
And it is a show that is a little bit Buffy the Vampire Slayer by way of, like, children's TV Doctor Who.
I'm feeling like Nick at Night, or not quite Nick at Night, Nick before it gets to Nick at Night, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, it's, the way they put it on is it's like it's the last thing before the kids' channel turns over to black and white movies for the night. So it's like 10:30 at night. The sort of, like, block you'd have had, like, the slightly more violent anime on Toonami might have popped up. And it is this show with these two female protagonists who are psychically connected on other sides of the country, fighting monsters, fighting the same monster but from a distance using psychic connection.
And they have little pink ghost tattoos on their neck.
On the back of their neck, and God, I imagine a lot of people are going to get little pink ghost tattoos on the back of their neck from this.
Maybe.
There were parts in watching that where I was like, I could see myself getting that tattoo.
I would join you in that.
Yeah. And two people who have very different, significant relationships to that show.
Yes.
One, a person for whom it has become their escape and has very much embraced the show as a thing that they find a lot of passion in.
Yes.
And one who, watching it is somewhat of an ordeal that requires help from others and is sort of a secret watch.
Yes, it's got the... it hits in two ways. One hits the slightly autistic... This is the show I love. I really love this show. And people, most other people don't understand how deep this show goes, and only I get it in this way. And I've got the show guide book.
Yes.
There was a show I was into as a kid, and I have tons of books still to this day of show guides and a book of just scripts from one season.
I've seen every episode, but I can't be watching the episodes when I'm at school, so I have the book so I can read the episode summaries and the facts about the episodes when I'm not watching the episodes.
Yes. And then the other person who's like, my parents have forbidden me from watching this thing. Without saying all the reasons, upon one, can I stay up late and watch this show? Isn't that a show for girls? It's isn't it that kids show? Isn't it that show for girls? Yes,
etc. I don't want to say it's a horror film.
I feel like it got billed as a horror somewhere, and that's partly why some people are so upset about it.
What I will say is, it's a horror in as much as it does linger in the horror that is feeling like your life has gotten away from you and feeling like you've left it too late to do things you want to do, and the creeping horror that can be.
Oh, I think it counts as existential horror, but that's not really where most people go for horror.
Yeah.
Generally, they're either looking for psychological horror or pornography.
Yeah.
And this is neither of those things.
There is horror in the sense of, there were, as a trans person watching, there were moments, a lot of the end of this film, I was holding on to you going oh no, things need to be better for them.
Yep.
Things need to change.
Yes. I can't remember exactly what the moment was. There was a moment where we both just sort of grabbed each other's hand, leaned in and had a bit of a sob together.
I think it would be too spoilery to say, but I think it was a moment in which there was a little bit of a time skip and I need to get on with being an adult. Phrased in a certain way was oh no. But yes, I think this is a film that if you go in looking at too many of the specific things that are going on too literally, I think it could be easy to get a little hung up on some of the mechanics of the supernatural elements that encroach. But I think if you just let yourself go with the vibes and go, I recognise that this is metaphor, and follow the emotional metaphor that is there, I think this is a fucking gripping film.
Yeah, I think this hit in a lot of ways. There was some autism stuff. The why will you not just look me in the eyes comment from somebody quite early on. There's obviously the obsession with the show, and definitely been in that side of things. Also some stuff that we've obviously sort of alluded to about from a trans point of view, and also stuff from two people who had issues with certain parents,
Yeah.
and as a result, had some sort of like hiding away, not really able to necessarily interact with the rest of the world or with other people in quite the same way as quote unquote the normal people or the wider society.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of like, oh, we were both kind of raised by the television, and this is hitting some stuff there. But also with a degree of, but you've been told why you watch that.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of like little things without getting into specifics that like hit weirdly specifically close to home, be it having to sneak those little moments of femininity where you can get them and holding your little secret piece of, this means a lot to me, not necessarily because it's good, but because it's that thing I can hold close, that I can see something of myself in, be it the, my experiences of having lied to a parent about where I was going to spend the night somewhere else in order to go hang out with female friends who were okay with me being in their presence, with me not entirely knowing what to feel about that yet. There's so many like little specifics.
Yes.
And I think both of the main characters in this feel very relatable to me at different points in my life.
Yes.
I think it's very much a film I watched and came away from going, I was once this character, and I'm glad I didn't stay that character. I'm glad I ended up elsewhere, but I can see how easily I could have ended up.
I can also see other trans people I know.
Yeah.
In some stuff that some of the characters do. I can also see like some of the people that I almost fell in with or was surrounded by as a result of my general ostracization from like wider social groups.
Right.
Of like, oh, I have ended up surrounded by absolute dickheads because they were the last people who would like have me around, and they were taking the piss. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I can see the whole like, you can't force someone to take the step they clearly need to take.
Yeah. Like again, that hit me in a way of like, I've had friends who were clearly in really fucked up situations, and I've gone, let me try and help you out of this, and then like for all the pressure of trying to help, I was young and foolish and didn't really understand.
But that's part of being young though, and the heartbreak that comes from, I just wish I could take your hand and go, this is what will help.
Yes,
and
because you're clearly not having a good time.
Yeah, and it's I can't wait to rewatch this at some point.
Definitely.
There is so much to it. It was one of those films we came home from and spent a good solid hour and a half just going, ooh, wasn't that another interesting layer of metaphor happening that I have opinions about?
It was clearly shot on a budget, but its effects are really well used, really well done. Some of the makeup choices and styles. There is a thing with an ice cream man right near the beginning that is on the screen for like 30 seconds and is like, or not even that, probably like 3 or 4 seconds, but it's like, that is a fantastic prop.
Yep.
Ew. And then like also something that like references back to that later is like, interesting.
As someone who had a trans awakening based on a piece of media that ultimately looking back was a kind of flawed piece of media, but in the moment meant everything to me.
Yes.
Yeah, this film caught something specific.
Yeah. I also had a similar thing with regards to it hitting my trans awakening of being near someone who feels a little bit self-destructive and potentially quite dangerous.
Yeah.
But also, like, stuff that they had done and said around me at a really fragile time in my life was the sort of, like, nudge towards where I needed to be.
Yeah. There is so much very specific nuance in this that is...
But it's a film about nothing, right?
It's a film about nothing.
And if you like it, you're just a chin-stroking, artsy...
God, my desire to have like a big, long, spoiler-filled chat about the things this film was about, which was not nothing. Fucking Reddit. It's a film about real nothing.
I had to laugh about it. I was like, what were you even watching?
What were you even watching?
It was very clearly about something, even if you didn't get any of the what it was.
Like,
you know,
even if you weren't,
metaphoring.
like, taking any of the trans metaphor route, there was clearly a fucking plot happening, even if you just take the fucking sci-fi for its face value.
Yeah,
It's a good film.
it's a great film.
You know
and
what's-
I look forward to watching it again.
You know what's not a good film?
Oh, I see. We're going. Whoa.
I think we gotta do it.
Bam.
We both separately watched Borderlands this week.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good.
I-
I don't think it's as bad as some other people say,
No.
but I haven't played enough Borderlands to know.
I don't think it's a terrible film. I don't think it deserves to be in the conversations of worst movie adaptations of video games ever.
No, Uwe Boll exists.
I think it's largely being as criticized as it is because, as many people have pointed out, it's come on the tail of several legitimately quite fantastic video game to screen adaptations. We've had The Last of Us. We've had Fallout. We've had like a number of like, oh, is the tide turning? And then I think the thing is, it feels like it harkens back to maybe 10 years ago what video game movie adaptations felt like, which was, we're going to try a little too hard to, like, translate all the things in a game one-to-one into a movie, and it becomes a bit of a bloated thing that's a little bit fan-servicey, but not quite getting the source material right, and maybe it looks the part, but it doesn't feel the part.
It also doesn't feel... Like, I, as someone who's barely played Borderlands, would say Borderlands is about vault hunting,
Yep,
guns,
yep,
ridiculous guns,
Yep.
some of which, like, will make lists of, like, meme guns
yeah.
in a world where High on Life exists.
Yeah, the gun that has an argument with you, the gun that shoots tiny swords,
The
you
gun
know.
that screams.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel like a film made by someone who has the kind of love of the source material to go, this is the core of the things that need to translate.
Yeah.
Because, like, I can't fault... I want to talk about the things that I think it does get right.
Right.
I think it gets the aesthetic right in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like it's being shot in a quarry, you know, as these things do.
It
but
certainly
like,
is.
They did a great job, generally speaking, of casting people who were a great fit for, like, the face and body shape of characters, and doing very good work with costuming to go,
Oh, yeah, the
that's
costuming's
about
great.
as spot on as a live action that character as you could get.
Yes.
I think they did a good job of, like... I think they did a good job of getting across, like, some of the energy of the visual design. I think, like, some of
Without
that comes
doing
across
the
well.
cel-shaded.
Yeah, they didn't go the cel-shaded route, but they still, I think, managed to capture the aesthetic of the thing quite well.
Yeah.
But they make a lot of weird choices that are just kind of...
Yeah, like the thing that I didn't know until like I was looking, like I come back from it and was wondering what other people had thought, and people were saying like this like removes two of the characters. It's trying to tell the story of Borderlands 1, basically.
Yes.
It then removes two of the characters from Borderlands 1 and jams in one of the psychos and Tiny Tina as
Yeah.
part of the main four.
Yeah.
Retcons Tina's backstory.
Yeah.
Again, like I haven't played Borderlands 2 or Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, but Tina has, again, shown up in a lot of listicles, and she seems like a really fun character. Just small, aggressive, bunny-eared tank girl.
Yeah.
Which is very much my vibe.
Whereas here, she's very much... like, she occasionally throws explosives, but she's very much presented as child who is a little lost without adult parental supervision and needs protecting and saving, and that's not that character's
Has basically
vibe.
grown up in a lab.
Yeah. It's...
And would maybe, you know, have the chance to expand and be more of a character and more come into her own and be more bold in a sequel.
Except
that this film does not give any space for.
This film is written in such a way that it deliberately closes doors that, like, would have been avenues for sequels. Like, I went into this fully expecting, hey, we're gonna tease that this is one of many vaults full of treasure on out in space, and, you know, maybe there's a post-credit scene where they tease Handsome Jack or whatever, and they're like, no, there is one vault, there's only one vault, we're telling one story, and then we're done. I'm like,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Also, not to spoil the ending of this film, I mean, it's not a good film, but I will. Anyone who wants to make that decision on their own, make their decision. But like, I have seen again listicles of the end of the original Borderlands talking about like the vault was a trap, and they open it and like huge tentacle monster comes out.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm always up for more tentacles. There are 4 small tentacles in this film.
In the dark.
In the dark.
Barely seen.
And they do just look like little cephalopod arms rather than like big purple sky-destroying things.
The film has a few problems. It feels like, pacing-wise, it wants to be a TV show. And I say that not to say that they have a TV show's worth of plot in this. They sure as fuck don't. But, like, the number of plot beats they wanted to have was too high for either the runtime or the budget of a film. But they didn't want to cut locations out that would be things people know from the game. So what instead they do is they speedrun. Kate Blanchett as Lilith goes to a location, gives you voiceover and goes, oh, and then some people attacked me, and then I got out of there, and then we're on to a new scene. Like, the opening of this film is like 4 or 5 scenes back to back of Lilith goes to a place, does some voiceover about the cool shit she did there, we don't get to see it, off she goes to the next place.
Yeah.
Like, it's trying to rush through too many locations.
Yeah, the opening does feel very rushed generally, because you are introduced to a lot of characters, and the whole plot of, like, the hypercapitalization, capitalization?
Capitalism? Yeah,
hypercapitalism, and the fact that the planet was, like, largely taken over by corporations,
that's like,
most of whom seem to have like vanished at this point.
That's like a 15-second, like, oh, we'll tell you about it, okay, off we go.
Yeah, like a Hitchhiker's Guide style motion graphic of, here's what happened on planet. And I get, they're trying to move to the actual story they want to tell, but like, it feels like you could have cut the Kevin Hart scene out of the beginning of that completely, and just gone straight to Lilith, and then have him just turn up and be there with Tina.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes you could have made to this. I think a lot of the dialogue is hamstrung by the fact that they wanted a 12A rating, and the games were an 18, and it feels really awkward if you know the games when you hear just gosh darn SOB.
Yeah.
That stupid MF.
That's BS.
That's some real BS. Some total BS. It's like, oh, you're not allowed to swear, huh?
The 12A rating really made me think of just like, who the fuck is this for? Because I feel like Borderlands was new, 10, 15 years ago? I can't remember when the first one came out, but I feel like it's probably in that age range, maybe 8 years, I don't know. But the people who played it then are almost certainly old enough to watch a film with swearing in now, surely, because it was an 18 at the time.
11-year-old kids who are going to laugh at the piss joke, that's who it's for.
But that's the other thing, as you pointed out, like, you've been to see a lot of films recently, so you've seen the trailer for it recut multiple times, and that joke has constantly been in it.
It's the
everyone
one
got
constant.
Piss in their mouth.
Oh, they got piss in their mouth.
But that's the thing, that feels like a joke very much aimed at a 12A audience.
Yeah.
And Claptrap, as written in this, feels very much written for a 12A audience. But the vibe of the plot and also the plot of the games is very much not 12A. So who is this for?
I don't know.
Because we know that R-rated action movies work because we've just seen Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, but what if it could make even more money as a 12A, maybe?
But it isn't. It had a £4 million opening weekend because it...
Yeah, but we didn't know that when we made it.
Feels like films have test audiences.
Yeah. And probably a few 11-year-olds laughed at the piss joke. And they went, yep, gotta get that in.
We've got it. Yeah, like, the trailers cover, like, stuff from about the first 15 minutes of the film, and then, like, nothing else really matters. as somebody else pointed out, like, Claptrap isn't written at all like he is in the games. He is voice modified so much that you can't even really tell it's Jack Black.
Yes, it's gone from I'm excited to be here and I just want to be your friend even though I'm a bit annoying, to I fucking wish you would die so that I didn't have to be your friend. Yes. I'm like, okay, cool.
Without the
off,
effing, I effing wish you weren't
Sorry,
here.
effing.
Yeah, it made me chuckle twice, and that's it. And I thought the vehicle design and the costuming was good. Now let us never speak of this film again.
Yeah.
Except maybe as a warning to others. Have you watched anything else?
I watched some other things I can talk about.
Yes.
I saw an M. Night Shyamalan film this week.
M. Night
Shyamalan, a film called Trap.
Ooh.
Which, the general premise is father has taken daughter to go see a pop concert, and then notices there's an awful lot of fucking police around today. Asks someone at the merch stand, like, hey, what's up with all that? We heard that the butcher, the infamous serial killer, someone got a tip-off somehow that he was going to be here today. Like, they found some clue that led us to think he was going to be here today. So, fucking hundreds of FBI agents surrounding the stadium. Every man who leaves the stadium is going to be checked until we find our killer. And then man checks his phone in the bathroom and he's got a video feed of man chained up in his basement. It's like, he's the killer. How's he going to get out of the stadium that is surrounded by literally hundreds of cops specifically looking for him?
Yeah.
It is an interesting film that maybe goes on like 2 or 3 more scenes than it needs to. But
What?
but it's a film of a couple of different acts, I would put it. So like, initial film is like the reverse of a heist film.
Right.
It is, I'm trying to like work out how to break out of a building. And like what kind of social engineering can I do to, like, you know, if you played something like Hitman and you're trying to work out like, okay, where can I get like an outfit from to disguise myself as a worker? Maybe I need to get access to a key card. Maybe I need to find out the passphrase that all the staff were told today, so that like if they're stopped while at work, like they can say the code and it's like, oh, you're meant to be here, etc. What are my exit routes? What's being watched? What's not? While doing a really shit job of not letting his daughter realize something really fucking suspicious is going on. But then it kind of shifts into what I can only describe as live-action Death Note for a while.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, for anyone who's not seen Death Note, it's about a kid who has a notebook, write down the name, the person dies. You know, no supernatural abilities going on here, but this man does have a button on his phone he can press to just cause the man in his basement to die. And it becomes a cat. I'm not going to say who the L to his light is, but it becomes I'm going to admit that I am light in Death Note. How are you, L, gonna fucking stop me now? Back and forth, the person trying to catch them versus the killer kind of thing. And a lot of this had very Death Note framing to it. Like, you know how in Death Note, you know that Light is the villain, is unequivocally, like, doing murders to save his own skin of people who do not deserve it. But the way it's framed, you're kind of still like, yeah, but I want to see how he's going to get out of this one, though. Like, I'm kind of rooting to see him not get caught.
Yes.
It captures that very well, but in much the same way, it sort of crescendos to a point where it becomes harder and harder to say that you root for him. You're like, at a certain point, it's like, I'm... Your House of Cards has gotten very elaborate, and I am fascinated to see what eventually causes it to fall. Very interesting film that had, like, 3 different points that would have been really satisfying conclusions.
Yes.
Where it just kind of kept going, and it found the least satisfying conclusion to end on that it possibly could have done. And it's not enough to have not enjoyed the film, but the place where it ends, I'm like... You could have ended at any of the fake out endings before that, and I'd have walked away more satisfied.
Yeah.
It feels like it wants to leave the door open for a sequel in a film that needed to be a one-off. But it's an enjoyable time. It's the most I've enjoyed a Shyamalan film in a while.
What was the last one you saw? Was that the Home Invaders one about they know the end of the world's coming or something?
The last Shyamalan film I saw was actually was pretty decent as well.
You watched The Watched?
Yes, I watched The Watched. This is the one I talked about where person gets lost in the woods and it finds other survivors in the woods who are in this building with like one glass wall. And it's like, at night you don't turn your back to that one glass wall. There are things out there watching us and trying to escape these weird woods where there are creatures out trying to get them. It was an interesting one in that I'm trying to think how to put it. It was a film that really sat with its core premise and wasn't afraid to just be slow tension building of an unseen threat or a threat that might not even exist. Like, you're not even certain the threat exists for a long time. Horror that did like single setting small cast horror pretty well. You know what? The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I've seen a couple of Shyamalan things recently that were alright. There's
a Knock at the Cabin is what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Shyamalan's work is real all over the place, but both Trap and The Watched, I had a decent time with. Yeah, what about you? You watched anything else this week?
That's it for me.
I watched a couple of other things I can very quickly skim through.
Tell us.
While I was travelling, I watched a 4-hour documentary on YouTube by Jenny Nicholson called Evermore, the theme park that wasn't.
This is the person that did the Star Wars Galaxy Hotel thing.
Yeah, so you know how that was a 4-hour-long video about Jenny Nicholson as a YouTuber really loving like the idea of immersive theme parks or immersive hotel experiences with like live actors, and going to one and then ultimately being really disappointed by the inconsistent experience being provided by actors and the fact that some people will have a better experience than others by pure luck based on what actors they ran into in their experience. Yeah, Evermore is that. 12 months earlier, she had a very similar experience with a place called Evermore Park.
Right.
Which is it billed itself as like a fantasy theme park, and then over the time, until it eventually opened, it sort of shifted into a come and visit this park full of buildings, most of which aren't enterable because we ran out of money, and there's like actors going around, and like you'll get given quests and you can join guilds, and ultimately very little of that interactive element actually manifested in the park, and then throw in a handful of experiences that are pretty analogous to the I went to go see the show in the Cantina bar, but there was a fucking pillar in front of me and I couldn't see the performers.
Yeah.
An equivalent for Evermore would be, we finally heard about a thing that was going to happen. There's going to be a plot point out by the exit, the main entrance. The tavern keeper told us about it. We were there on time. And then 5 minutes in, wondering when it was going to arrive and get here, someone came over and told us, it got moved to the other side of the park, and it started 5 minutes ago, and they sprint to the other side of the park, and it's already ended. And the one plot point they almost got to see got moved, and no one told them, and they didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want another 4-hour documentary about an attempt at making a theme park experience, and Jenny Nicholson's ultimately very disappointing experience there, the top comment on it was, "Wow, what a once-in-a-lifetime bad experience at an immersive media theme park. I sure hope nothing ever happens to Jenny Nicholson like this again." And I was like, yeah, it is honestly impressive how similar the problems were.
Wowza.
So I watched that, and I watched 2 films that I can very quickly skim through. I watched Evil Bong 3, because, of course...
we watched the first 2, so...
Yeah.
Why not?
Series of films. The second one gets a bit fucking racist at points. It is a film from the mid-2000s that, it's not an easy recommend. But out of curiosity, watch the third one. Third one, less iffy things that I have to, caveat around recommending. An asteroid appears out of space. There's a new evil bong in it. It wants to forcibly remove genetic material from men who smoke the bong to create an invading army of Earth via bong magic.
And jizz.
And jizz, yeah. No, it's milking the jizz out of them. I was gonna try and be tactful. It's you smoke the bong and then the bong milks you for jizz.
Ew.
Now we
I'm
gotta
sure it's somebody's kink.
we gotta stop the evil bong. Oh, and don't touch the magic weed, or the magic weed will start growing on your skin, and you might just become one big nug of magic space weed. Yeah.
These films sure haven't got any class here.
Look, they haven't got any class here, but every now and look, they're bad. I'm not going to say they're good.
But they're hilariously bad.
They're bad in the kind of way where you'll be watching and going, I can't believe what I'm seeing, and then like one line will happen that you'll be quoting for days. For all the problems with Evil Bong 2, it was in a very high-pitched voice going, help, I'm a doobie!
Yes.
3 has a similarly memorable one stupid little line that got stuck in my head. But it is a series of films that, if nothing else, I can commend them for continuing to build the mythos.
Yeah.
Like they have largely kept the cast of characters and continue to build upon the canon and to build out a world that feels weirdly consistent for a series that feels like it should just try and, like, it's just there to be a goof. Weirdly interesting, flaws and all. Genuinely pretty good film I watched, that, surpassed my expectations. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Yeah, from what you were saying, I got the impression it feels like they made the first one, got money from people going, this will be at least a laugh, and made a much better film with the proceeds.
That's part of it, but I think maybe the bigger part of it is the first Blood and Honey feels like it was rushed to have something ready to be the first ones out the door with a Winnie the Pooh horror film as soon as the thing was public domain. The biggest problems I had with the first one were it got real gross and fan servicey in terms of, like, there was a lot of just, here's an excuse to have tits out and women murdered.
Yeah.
But also, like, the vast majority of the film is about a cast of characters who have no emotional connection to Winnie the Pooh. Christopher Robin appears at the start, and then comes up a little later, but it's largely about a bunch of characters who are much less interesting to see be in the horror scenario than Christopher Robin was. Blood and Honey 2 feels like it went, cool, we had to rush out to be the first ones. Yeah. We can take our time with this, and we want to kind of retcon some shit we did with the first. And their in-universe way of retconning is, what you saw when you watched the first Blood and Honey was not the literal events that happened to Christopher Robin. You watched the kind of schlocky B-movie horror film made about what he went through.
Yeah.
Like, the side plot with all those girls that were nothing to do with him was like, we gotta pad the runtime, and we gotta sex it up a bit, like that kind of shit. When you watch the version in the sequel, like, it's even more hammed up. You see, like, at points like Winnie the Pooh is, like, glowing in lightning like he's going Super Saiyan. It's like, yeah.
Having his Freddy moment.
Exactly. But the second is, like, this... Christopher Robin did go through, essentially, the events of the first. I went back to the 100 Acre Wood as an adult, and Winnie the Pooh and co. had tried to attack me because I abandoned them to go to university. And now he's like somewhat of a mini celebrity. He is he's well known. Some people don't believe that he was attacked in the woods by these monsters. Some people think he did killings in the woods. As such, like, it's hard to hold down a job. There's, like, constant attention on him. He's going to therapy basically daily to deal with what he went through.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah. And it is a film that very much is about Christopher Robin, but it's also about his relationship to Winnie the Pooh, and was it really as wonderful as he remembers it being, and what are the origins of these talking animals in the woods, and what link does that have to Christopher Robin? And genuinely very interesting film, much better fleshed out cast of characters, much more, like, interesting acting. They recast Christopher Robin, which I think you can get away with because the person you saw in the first one was just the actor playing him. But the new actor, like, genuinely, like, does not act like he's in a B movie. He's like, no, this is my magnum opus. I'm going to act the shit out of this.
Yeah.
And gives a genuinely pretty good performance. It's still goofy and schlocky in that, like, any time that, like, murder stuff is going on, it's still, like... Do you remember that scene in the first Blood and Honey where Winnie the Pooh cries a single honey tear? It's still that level of, like... There's gonna be stuff to give you levity in the horror moments.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, they... Look, I'm not gonna say it's, like, taking itself seriously or anything. But, like, it's more on the... I would put this more on the level of something like Slaughterhouse.
Right.
In terms of, like...
It feels like they at least cared about
Yeah,
it.
you cared enough to, like, really put the effort in, and even if it's a bit goofy in places, you didn't just fart this out. Honestly, if this is the trajectory for the cinematic universe they're apparently building of all these public domain characters turned villain, I'm up for more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's everything I've watched this week.
Well then.
Time for this.
Hey, Laura.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you ever get on what seems to be a very busy train?
Yeah, from time to time.
And you know, maybe you've got like a bunch of heavy stuff with you.
Yeah.
Maybe you've had a very long journey already.
Yeah.
And there's someone sitting like in the aisle seat.
Oh.
Right. And maybe they've just got like a bag or nothing on the window seat.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, would you mind moving so that I can sit there, you know, because this is already a very packed train. There's lots of people standing already. Could you know, maybe move a bit?
Yeah, it's been like 5 minutes. I don't think you're like holding the seat for your friend or anything. I think you just don't want anyone to sit next to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apart from the solution that I used to use, which is just threatening to sit on them.
Funnily enough, I've tried. The other day, I was getting people saying, just actively outright refusing, even when, you know, that kind of threat's out there.
Yeah.
I need something stronger.
How about trainseatemptyingtaser.lol.net?
Tell me more.
Sometimes there's going to be some random prick who won't stop manspreading or putting a bag on a seat next to them, or when they're just sitting in the aisle seat and refusing to move to let you go and sit at the window seat because
they're being a prick.
Or they need it for reasons, emotional space. I get the emotional space.
No, I get it when it's that, but I'm talking about the ones who are like, no, and just no. I refuse. I'm person 3 or 4 in a row. Just be like, no, you don't. My empty seat.
Well, try train seat emptying taser. It basically you jab it at them, and you press the button, and it'll issue a warning of like, hey, be a decent human being and move so that this person can sit down. And if they don't move out of the seat, they will be grounded and therefore will get shocked by the taser. Zip, 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 zap, zap.
In a just world, this would not be needed, but I know, unfortunately, it is.
So try trainseatemptyingtaser.lol.net because people are pricks.
Sometimes people are pricks.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, you know, we've been testing our new game secretly in secret recently.
Yeah. Super secret.
Yeah. We did
like a spy.
Yeah, so we did that whole thing where we were like, you know, hey, QA testers who are low paid is great for catching bugs, but what if we got some of the players to do the bug testing for us by like, you know, we let them play the game and we have a little checkbox that says, don't tell anyone you're playing, but do tell us if you find bugs. Yeah. So that whole secretly testing our game secretly in secret thing.
Yeah.
It's not going as secretly as we'd hoped.
Oh, well, why? Why would who would leak such a thing?
Well, there's a few problems.
They ticked a box.
Well, there's a few problems. Yeah. Well, we asked that. We didn't ask them to tick a box to agree they wouldn't share stuff on the game. This is maybe my fault. I don't do legal stuff. I wrote the box. And
we have guys for that.
The box said, don't share anything.
Yeah.
And then there was just a square to close the box, which I guess means They didn't say yes, so they don't have to.
Right, but they are still allowed to test it.
Well, yeah. Well, we've been banning people who we see are streaming it or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
The other thing, and maybe this was a bad move on my part. I thought it was a great idea. Was hey, you're enjoying doing free unpaid labor playing our game in secret for us and doing bug testing.
Yeah.
What if we gave you the ability to send invites to the game to literally anyone you know,
right,
so that they could also in secret play the game and bug test for us, and,
right, and they also would have had to click the little box.
Yeah, but they're all going, oh, well, I also have the game now. What if I also just started playing it and talking about it?
Right, and inviting people.
Yeah, and inviting people.
Yeah,
and
So, but I imagine it's probably no more than the So we invited 50 people to play this, and I imagine it's probably not more than what 75 maybe.
It was concurrenting at 40,000 people playing at the same time last night, including several fucking hate this word, journalists who have started, playing it and reviewing it because apparently they didn't agree to any NDA or anything.
Right. So we'll just threaten to pull all the advertising from their primary website.
Yeah, but it's not changing.
They work for a big website, right?
Yeah, but it's not changing the fact that it's not the secrecy plan has kind of gone out the window at this point.
Right.
What? Can we just rename it and pretend that it never existed and tell people oh, you think a game by that name came out, was being tested? Mass hallucination.
Yeah, that's a Mandela effect or something. And we'll give it a new name. We'll throw a shader on it, and it will be something completely different. No one will ever know.
No one will ever work it out.
But also amazing advertising for us.
Yeah,
you are a fucking genius.
Except for all those mistakes I made. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. You'll get a bonus.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ear places?
I can give you a sense of some of the stuff I've listened to this week.
Yeah.
There is a playlist that me and some friends at a convention were putting together, and that was playing largely on loop. Some highlights from that playlist include Shoes by Kelly.
Oh my god, Shoes.
Oh my god, Shoes. My Dumb Stepdad by Sync182. You might remember this as the Blink-182 cover singing about my dumb stepdad is drowning in a submarine.
I don't think I've
Oh, have you not heard this?
No.
Oh, so do you remember the...
I do remember
the billionaire Nepo kid that was at the Blink-182 show and not, keeping an eye on whether his dad was going to die in the sub?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pop-punk song from the perspective of that kid at the Blink show. Being like, fuck my dumb stepdad, I'm going to get his money. Weirdly catchy. We have You're Tearing Me Apart, a songified song from The Room.
Yeah.
We put some Northern Boys on there, who, if you've not heard them, they're a trio of old men singing weirdly progressive, at times,
dance music,
comedic dance music. At one point you'll hear him, being like, big up to the gays and the trans and the bis and the big bold men. And then maybe one of them...
pronouns.
Yeah, you don't got a clue what I feel inside. And then, on the other hand, you might hear them singing about taking a number 3, which is a shit and a piss and a wank in a tree.
It's important to know.
They're good lads, those ones. Listen to a good amount of Neil Ciceregia, including Bustin'.
Yay!
Bustin' makes me feel good.
I see the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins.
The Ballad of Bilbo Baggins by Leonard Nimoy.
Some Boney M, always a good choice.
Indeed. Some of the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend soundtrack. Theme of King JJ from Yuri on Ice, which absolutely fucking love that track. That track, best track in that whole show. The Killers, Mr. Brightside. We listened to some Candy Carpenter, Lithophonia, which is that song from all the fart buckle TikToks.
Childish Gambino.
Tattoo the
All the things she said.
Russian fake lesbians. And then we went down a rabbit hole that was I Am All of Me from Shadow the Hedgehog, You're Not Me from Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie, the Seto Kaiba's angsty, why do my only friends the ones who I pay money to? It's hard being a billionaire.
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom.
Pokemon theme tunes.
Excellent.
And then we went for a 3-hour rockin' emo night, and it was all just 2000s emo bangers. It was fucking great.
Oh yeah.
I did.
Was there a decent amount of MCR?
There was 3 MCR tracks, I think,
Excellent.
which I was like, that's pretty good. Before going, I did teach my 2 friends I went with. Neither of them knew the Enter Shikari, Sorry You're Not a Winner with the... Where you do the 3 claps.
I thought you were going to say you taught them the wieners for a second though.
No, it's the clap, 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 and then it kicks into the song. I taught them that, and then it came on that night.
Yay.
I was like, yeah, you know how to do your 3 claps. So
You
yeah,
get caramel dancing.
we listened to it in the room we were staying in. It did not come on the night. What about you? What you been listening to?
I've been listening to a bunch of Cartoon Network stuff. So I listened to an album called Cartoon Network Burn the Billboard. And it is a lot of covers, not all of them I've heard the original songs of. Safe and Sound, Kiss Me Through the Phone, Emotion, Stupid Horse, Beautiful, Juice, Redbone, Say So, Bad Guy, What Makes You Beautiful, 1999, Fireflies, Every Time We Touch, Toxic, and Blank Space. It's a really good album. I had a good time with it. That is available on Bandcamp in its entirety. Yeah, it's a really good, it's more ska, I fucking love it. Just what I needed, because I went for a lovely walk in the sunshine and listened to some ska. Also listened to Scartoons, which is just Cartoon Network cartoon series done with their intros done as ska tracks. So we got Cartoon Fridays, Powerpuff Girls End Theme, Craig of the Creek, What's New Scooby-Doo, Potatoes and Molasses, Langtree's Lament, Teen Titans, The Incredible Shrinking Day, I Want to Be Famous, Total Drama Island, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Megas XLR, Magilla Gorilla for Sale, Codename Kid Next Door, Will Be There, We Bear Bears, Everything Stays, brilliant track, 16 Island Song, Come Along With Me, yeah. Love Like You, Ed, Ed and Eddie, and Jabberjaw Running Underwater.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to have more ska in my ears, and Cartoon Network does an excellent job. Go Jer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what I've stuck in my ear places.
Well then, time for this. So that video gaming movie.
Yeah, very popular. Those make lots of money.
Well, our last one, the one we've just put out, hasn't done great on the
Oh
money.
yes, but the one before that.
Well, yes. I don't think we swear off them, but I think we pick another popular video game media, and we find a way to make it into a good film idea.
Yeah.
I was having a look at the IPs we own the rights to adapt, and I saw we had this Skyrim thing.
Right. Yeah.
That's a popular one. People know that one.
Yeah, I mean, we've been reselling it for 13 years at this point, so I can't see why not.
So I was doing some research. I was like, how do we make a film out of this? And I looked at what does the average playtime spent with this game look like? Like, what does a playthrough of this game look like?
Oh, playthrough, as opposed to the average, which is about 1.5 hours.
I mean, a segment of someone playing. How is that time spent?
Right. Yes.
And about 60% of it was just sort of walking to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And about 30% of it was doing a fetch quest that was, go get 30 of this type of mushroom and bring it back to this person.
Yeah.
And then maybe 10%, a dragon appears and you shout something at it.
Yeah, shouting at dragons.
So look, if we have maybe an hour 40 film,
Right.
60 minutes of walking somewhere,
No,
about 30 minutes of collecting
Lord of the
mushrooms, 10 minutes of shouting at a dragon. And
I feel like these were all covered by Lord of the Rings. Yeah, perfect.
I feel like that would be an accurate representation of the video game.
Yeah,
and that's what they want. They say that's what they say they want. They want accurate video game adaptations.
What if we spent, 25 minutes at the beginning of the film, just morphing between various faces to get just the right one. We capture the character creation, because people do always seem to spend an inordinate amount of time in that section as well.
What if we did that, but then the whole film was in first person, so you didn't even really see that perspective anyway?
Oh, perfect.
Exactly.
I think we're onto a winner there.
Yes.
Now about the popcorn buckets.
I think that speaks for itself. Upside down turned Dovahkiin helmet.
No.
It's got holes in the front. It will make the popcorn spill out.
Well, that means they'll have to buy more popcorn.
Exactly.
Now.
What would you do with the power to travel back in time with just a thought? What would you change? What wrongs would you undo?
And for you, the mixed vegetable seitan, enjoy your meal.
You too. Oh, shit.
And for you, the mixed vegetable seitan, enjoy your meal.
Thank you so much. Coming this summer, Faux Pant, the man with astronomical power, but absolutely no imagination.
And who's your friend?
This is Julia. We've been working together for nearly a decade.
Actually, it's Jenny.
This is Jenny. We work together. Faux Pant. He couldn't imagine a bigger issue. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
Right, Larry.
Right, Larry. How you doing?
Oh, you know, doing, mate.
Doing. Yeah.
Bit warm, I'll be honest. You doing alright? Busy bee?
Oh, doing alright. Been catching a bit of the old Olympics.
Oh,
Going on.
Yeah. Honestly, I've not seen any of it, but you know.
I mean, I caught a few bits. I caught I caught Ray Gunn in the.
Very controversial breakdancing.
I honestly was a fan of their moves. I thought they were pretty good.
I mean, I couldn't do any better. I'll be honest.
And it was someone that was getting one of the Olympians got very excited about muffins in the cafeteria. I caught that.
Yeah, I saw seemingly like memes about that without really understanding what was going on. But those muffins did look good, I'll be honest.
I saw some clips of what's the fancy horse dancing? What's that sport called? Dressage. Snoop Dogg commentating dressage. Saw some clips of that.
Right,
Apparently, big fan of dressage.
I did see. I did quite enjoy seeing. I think it was like a newspaper or like an online article of. Someone had taken a picture from some Olympic coverage of the Olympic skateboarding, which was a thing this year, and they were like, Snoop Dogg enjoys the Olympic skateboarding with unknown man. And the unknown man was Tony Hawk.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I was also following the everything that was going on with the women's boxing.
Oh, yeah,
hard not to follow that was going on.
No, that was a deeply depressing time.
It was a lot. I will say, congrats to Iman Khalif. Congrats on getting that gold despite all the bullshit gatekeeping that was going on. Also, very well done. Very glad to see the finals for the women's boxing, the Chinese boxer coming in to give her a hug upon, I've lost the Olympics to you, but I'm still going to give you a hug because you've done real well. That's solidarity.
Sports person, like,
Yeah, not like, the people that were ended up in third and fourth who were particularly not sportsmanly, but there was a particular thing that was a little frustrating me, and I just need to get words out on because it's complicated feelings, which is, look, I'm glad that there were a lot of people out there that were when all the rumours were starting to go, maybe Iman Khalif is intersex or has different chromosomes or has high testosterone or whatever. I'm not going to say that it is in any way bad that a lot of cis people stepped in to defend her right to be in the women's boxing, and it was good to see that sort of groundswell of support that stood up to the sort of turf rhetoric that was going around and trying to suggest she didn't deserve a space there. But there was a good amount of people who I was a bit disappointed in because the way that they defended Iman Khalif's right to be in the women's boxing got a little bit turf rhetoric adjacent.
Right.
Because a lot of it did start leaning into, well, no, she should be allowed to wrestle in box in the women's boxing. She's a real woman. She was born a woman. She was born with these genitals. She was this, that, and the other. She can't be trans because she's from a country where that's illegal to be. As if, people don't transition in countries where doing so is illegal. So stop saying she shouldn't be in the Olympics because she's a real woman. She should be in the Olympics. I kept having that thought. Like, I resisted the urge, but I kept having the urge to go, what if she was trans, though? Would you still be saying would you still be using the phrasing real woman to describe her in terms of her rights to to box, I
mean, probably not. I'll say that, about 13 years ago or so, I managed to basically cut all of the transphobes out of my life, dumped every single one of them like a damp potato. But I'll be honest that this is the closest I've come to having anyone in my not actually in my circle, but people in my circle going, oh, the number of people I have been disappointed with by their reaction to this, and like being that close to that sort of thing again has been like a really like fucking hell.
It's been frustrating because like none of it's been like enough that I'm gonna have a go at someone, but it's been enough where it's like you claim to be trans positive and to see trans women are women, that classic phrase, but when it comes down to it would be useful to be able to call this cis woman a real woman to protect her rights in this moment. It's like, it seems like a little bit of, it slips in that maybe you do see some women as more real women than others, and that maybe, is proximity to cisness.
It's almost got vibes of that person who wouldn't call themselves a racist because they don't use the N-word. But they are still very prone to a lot of microaggressions that they should work on. But if you try to call them out on it, all of a sudden they'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not racist. I don't have any work to do."
It's the if you're gonna defend it's just one of those things where it's like you can make all the arguments you're making in favour of Iman Khalif without having to go, without having to use the words, she's a real woman, she deserves to be there. Because, womanhood is so much more nuanced and complicated than a yes or no state.
Yeah. Let's hug, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Good hug, mate. Good hug. Right, I think I'll go and have a little lie down.
Sounds lovely.
Nice.
So, Laura,
Yeah.
you do things online. Where can people find those things?
People can find those things at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. Laura K. Buzz on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills, Blue Sky, Mastodon, all the stuff. Find me at Laura K. Buzz. The big one I've got this week is that I will be putting out that accessibility episode about virtual queuing systems and how they could benefit game conventions. You'll be able to watch that this week. A bunch of other stuff probably, but that's the big one. What about you? Where are you at on the internet?
Me, I don't have unified branding, but I do have a link tree. It's linkter.ee/Janiac, Janiac. You can find music I've made, t-shirts I've designed, words I've written. You can find a link to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me get this show edited and made and stuff. You can also find me on Humans Holler at News, where we holler at the news, among other things. We just recorded a new episode that I believe is going up shortly at time of recording, and that is me and Lauren Yelling NB and Lauren Morgan, who you may remember from previous seasons of Dice Funk and Let's Talk About Snacks. And we had a nice chat about some very adorable stories, including a bird wrapped in a tortilla. Ooh. A little baby bird had fallen out of nest and needed to be wrapped in a tortilla for safety. And that's all of my things. So, Laura,
Yeah?
will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.